This webinar will be recorded, so after you attend it, it will be available to review again. Okay, I would like to start with introduction. My name is Natasha Zudina, and I'm a founder of the project Open Window. I'd like to tell a little bit of my story. I'm a mom of the wonderful 7-year-old boy who was diagnosed with severe autism at the age of 4.5. And at that time, he was basically nonverbal. He was having tantrums every day. His behavior was through the roof. His social skills were basically equal to zero. And ever since that time, I was looking for a solution for his condition. I never accepted his diagnosis. And eventually, I came across of treating autism with diet. And it raised a lot of question in my head because, as many people, I believe that autism is a brain disorder. However, after doing a lot of research, I came to the conclusion that diet is a way to go. We implemented the diet, and I'm happy to report that we achieved tremendous recoveries. So now I want to help other parents to find the same solution and make their life a bit easier so they could help their children the same way I did. And without any further ado, let's just jump into our topic. And the first question that I often hear is that could it be that simple, that just a diet can cure the epidemic of our time? And yes, it is. That's a simple answer. But let's look at a little bit more complex answer to that question. So the facts are that in the late 1960s, autism was considered the cause of autism was bad mothering, and it was 1 in 10,000 children diagnosed with autism, and it was so rare that psychiatrists would consider somebody lucky who met actually the autistic kid. Nowadays, it's 1 in 50 children, a really skyrocketed rate, and basically to the left and to the right you can meet families with autistic children. And today the official belief is that autism is a genetic brain disorder. When you think about it, genetic brain disorder that really does not leave you a lot of options for treatment or cure. And that's where the modern medicine is, and that's how they look at it. So the treatment for that is the therapy or medications and medications. And therapy, I was kind of surprised to learn that they consider therapy as a way to manage your child. That's how they presented to me. They said, well, you need to learn how to manage your child. So basically you need to learn what buttons to push when he goes off so he will become socially acceptable. So it's not really addressing the cause of autism because nobody really knows what the cause of autism is. At least that's what the modern medicine believes. However, in the past 20 years, there was a lot of studies that prove there is a gut-brain connection. And when you think about gut-brain connection, it's really easy to understand on the example of what happens to the person if you drink alcohol. If you drink alcohol, you are unable to drive. They will not allow you to drive, and that means that alcohol impairs your ability to think. Alcohol impairs your ability to drive and judge. Why it happens is because alcohol is a toxin that when it gets into your body, it affects your body and you get intoxicated. And alcohol is something that you consume. So right away there is a gut-brain connection. However, I guess it took a little longer for the medical community to come to the same decision. Toxins affect our immune system, they affect the function of our gut, and they causing behavioral and developmental issues, which in some kids shown as autism. Autism is never alone. It comes with different arrays of conditions such as allergies, asthma, eczema, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, and other learning problems. And here I have that little chart on the right, which shows the connection between all of those conditions. And most of those children would have some kind of digestion disorder signs. Those symptoms will include smelly and irregular stools, odd combination of constipation, diarrhea, bloated bellies, frequent colds and ear infection, dry skin, and so on. And a lot of parents sometimes don't notice that because they really too concerned with the autism diagnosis. Sorry, I just scrolled to the wrong spot. So nowadays, autism is considered to be a body disorder that affects the brain. And as soon as you change your perception, right away you understand that if it's a body disorder, then can we fix the body? Can we treat the body? And then maybe it will affect the brain as well and cure the brain. And that's the way the diet treatment affects the autistic children. Unfortunately, most doctors still do not see the obvious, and they don't really believe in treatment of autism with diet, and they pass in their belief to the families, making it harder for them to look elsewhere for treatment solutions for their children. So they kind of develop that trust with their doctor, and they go with what the doctor suggests for them. However, if you think about treating autism as a body disorder, that provides a lot of treatment choices, and children treated that way provide remarkable recoveries. And my son is a great example to that. And I know a lot of families that actually did the same, and they also achieved miraculous recoveries. I know some parents ask questions. What if my child does not exhibit any of the digestive disorder signs? And does that mean that diet will not help us? And here, I actually will address that question a little bit more in detail further in my presentation, but here I just want to say that even if you don't notice a lot of digestive disorder signs, there is one big sign that you noticed, or that's the diagnosis. So if your child is autistic, most likely this is your child's allergic reaction to something that's going on in the body, and that could be fixed by removing those toxins or removing this inflammation that's being caused by the improper foods. And we talk about that a little bit forward. So the question also comes up, why our children have gut dysfunction? There's a few reasons why, and one of the reasons is the child inherits the gut flora from the parents if the child is born natural and conventional birth. In case of C-section, the child obtains the gut flora through the feeding. And a lot of modern children being born through C-section. And if the child breastfed, then he will get a healthier gut flora through feeding on the breast of its mother. But if it's a bottle fed, then basically the gut flora that he will obtain will come from elsewhere. And so if the parents already have compromised gut flora, then the child inherits that. And how do they have their flora compromised? It's through the use of antibiotics. And it's not a secret that antibiotics are being used widely in our world, and not only consumed by parents and children, but they also use in farming. Meat, milk, chicken, fish, shellfish, all of those produce use antibiotics to be raised and maintain healthy, and they now even use it on growing vegetables and fruits. And so those antibiotics remain in the meat that we eat, remain in the milk we drink, and in the fruits and vegetables. So by consuming those antibiotics, we damage our gut flora, and we damage the gut flora of our children. A lot of parents routinely take medications such as painkillers and contraceptive pills, and sometimes it's just really upsetting to know that contraceptive pill is being given to 12-year-old girl just to prevent outbreaks, not so much to prevent the unwanted pregnancy, but that damage her gut flora as a future mother, that she will pass it on to her child. Also, our diet habits, we eat a lot of carbs, and it's not a secret. A lot of people trying to fight that, but it's difficult. Processed foods rich with chemicals. The chemicals are added to our food to prolong their shelf life, and this is the price we pay for the convenience. And again, the general pollution of the soil, air, water we drink, food, and the housing. Our households are full of chemicals that we use to clean or to maintain our lifestyle, and nobody really knows how those chemicals affect our bodies and affect the bodies of our children. So in order to understand how diet works, we need to look into the digestive process. And I just want to really touch that quickly, and on a high level, it's not exactly in detail how it happens, because this process is very complex, and I'm not a medical doctor to talk about this, but this is something that I've learned through my research, and I want to explain it with very simple language to other parents so they understand what happens, because once you make it your belief, once you know exactly what happens, it's so much easier to maintain the diet and stay on the diet and help your child. And here we are going to take a look at the three major group of nutrients that our body needs to function properly. Those are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So we need those nutrients because carbohydrates give us energy and help our body to function well. Proteins are essential building blocks for our body, and it also especially needed for younger children. And fat is also something that we need, despite of many people think that they don't need any fat, because it transports essential vitamins such as A, D, E, and K. And so if we don't need any fat, then we don't deliver those vitamins to our body. And here in this picture, it's shown the healthy gut, and you can see that it consists of those little protrusions that are called villi, and the villi have that layer of the cells that produce the digestive enzymes and help our body to digest the food. And this is a little bit closer view, like those cells here. They have those little microvilli, the hair-like protrusions that have that produce enzymes, and those enzymes break down the foods to the smaller particles that are being digested into the bloodstream. We have to know that carbohydrates and proteins have very complex molecular structure, and they need to be broken down to something very simple that can be carried into the bloodstream. And this is very kind of high-level representation of the carbohydrate. And every little circle here is the monosaccharide. And this is how it gets into our bloodstream, the monosaccharides. And in order to go from here to here, you need an enzyme. So the enzyme is produced in microvilli, as we saw here. So enzymes are produced here, and that goes into the monosaccharide, and monosaccharide is being absorbed into our body. So if there is no enzyme, this process is not happening. So the carbohydrate sits in our intestine in that form, not being digested. Proteins are complex structures, very complex, and I didn't even attempt to represent it properly here, so that blurb is a protein. And these proteins are first being attacked in our stomach with the stomach acid, and they come out as peptides. And those peptides being broken down by enzymes again, which are located on macroreles, into the amino acids. And those amino acids now absorb to the blood. And the proteins that comes from the gluten and casein, gluten is the grain protein, wheat protein, and casein is the milk protein, they actually look having a morphine-like structure. Morphine is a morphine, as a drug. And it happens in everybody's body, in yours and mine, the same way. And because we have a proper enzymes that break it down to the amino acid, it does not present any kind of harmful process for us. But if enzyme is not there, then that peptide sits in our stomach, and it's not only sits in there, it leaks through, and you most likely heard of the leaky gut. And you can see how here, this is the representation of the leaky gut, where those cells that produce enzymes are not sitting tight to one another. So the peptides leak through into the blood vessel, and they get absorbed into the bloodstream and delivered to the brain. And because they are morphine-like, that's pretty much how they affect the body of the child. So as you remember, the carbohydrate also is in a very difficult and structure, and it sits in the gut without being digested. And what it causes is it feeds the yeast and causes the yeast overgrowth. Of course, because it's not being digested, it causes a malnutrition, and it causes the intoxication. And as we already talked about, the peptides leak through the gut wall. They get into the brain, and they cause the brain inflammation, and they also affect the immune system. So all of that is the contributing factors into the autistic signs. And here you have to note that animal protein that comes from meat, eggs, and fish are very easy to digest. It doesn't require that many enzymes, and it being broken into the amino acids much faster. Therefore, children on the a recovery plan, when they consume a lot of animal protein, recover real quickly. So here I created this little chart to kind of represent the vicious cycle that our kids are going through. They restrict their diet themselves, many of them do anyways, to the sugary foods and milk foods and bread. So they eat crackers and sweet yogurts and cookies and cream, but they would eat very little vegetables and fruit and meat. So eating this diet leads to the damaged gut flora, which leads to the leaky gut and yeast overgrowth, which leads to the enzymes and mucus excess and bad absorption, malnutrition, inflammation of the brain, and disorder of the brain. And so that all kind of surrounds the autism spectrum disorder and supports the autistic signs in our children. So here the question comes up, okay, well, we know now how the diet works or why it works, but which diet to choose? And gluten-free, dairy-free diet, or GFDF diet, is becoming an official autism diet. It's very popular nowadays, and a lot of parents are trying that. And as we saw on the mechanism on how that works, that basically removes those morphine-like peptides from the child's body, and reduces the brain inflammation. But that's it. So it does not really remove the carbohydrates that are not being digested as well, and they also causing a lot of issues, but that stays. There are diets that remove silicates and phenols. There's anti-candida diet. There's specific carbohydrate diets that I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about that, and its variation. GUPS, the GUPS stands for the gut and psychology syndrome. And sometimes parents know for sure that their child has an allergy for a specific product, and they just remove that product. And to tell you the truth, most of those diets have a good effect on autistic children. And this page here is taken from the webinar that I attended on the Autism Research Institute, where they were showing the results on implementation of biomedical supplements and the special diets. And you can see here at the bottom a specific carbohydrate diet. The good rate, the success rate is 71%. It's the highest on the list. And the gluten casein-free diet is 69%, which is also a very good result for those diets that help autistic children to recover and show good results. And that is an official statistic. Unfortunately, it's really slowly leaking into the parents' hands, and a lot of parents are still doubting whether or not they should use a diet treatment for their children. So gluten-free, dairy-free diet means that anything that contains gluten have to be removed, and it's wheat, barley, rye, and some other grains that are listed here here on the slide. And the milk products that contain casein are like milk, cream, yogurt, sweet or sour, cheeses, soft, hard, processed, butter, cottage cheese, kefir, and sour cream. So basically, all of that have to be removed from the diet. And nowadays, because it's so popular, there's a lot of products available in stores that have both gluten and dairy-free sign on it. Parents jump into that because it seems like a good diet to try, and it substitutes the products that you normally give to your child is very easy. And we tried it too. Unfortunately, gluten-free, dairy-free diet did not provide the full recovery for my son. It kind of helped, and then we plateaued, and then his health really deteriorated from there. And even his autistic condition worsened because he just didn't feel great. And that's not a single example of that. I know a lot of parents who are tried gluten-free, dairy-free, and even though it gives you some effect, it does not really give you a solid, constantly progressive effect for your child. So you really need to look further to that. And what we tried a specific carbohydrate diet, but a specific carbohydrate diet was developed for people with bowel disorder and Crohn's disease and celiac disease, and so it's a little bit different. It's not was not developed for autism, so it have to be adopted for autism because we still have to remove any milk products from our children's diet. So on that diet, you have to remove everything that contains a conventional sugar or lactose as well, which is a milk sugar. Anything that contains maple syrup or corn syrup is also not allowed. Starches are not allowed, so anything that comes like from potato or corn also cannot be used. Any grains cannot be used because they are a source of starches that are not being digested by our children's bodies properly. So simply put, only natural, not processed meats, fish, eggs, fruits, and non-starchy vegetables are allowed. And it may sound very scary, but once you get a hang of it, once you learn a little bit more about this diet, you will see that it's not that bad actually, and it's a very wholesome, healthy, nutritious, and yummy diet that you will implement for your child. And I wouldn't even say it's a diet. It kind of becomes a lifestyle. On the later stages of the diet, the nuts and honey can be introduced, and then it becomes really fun because now you will be able to bake and make a lot of goodies out of that nut flours. So that information that I just presented to you came out of these two books that I read throughout, and actually I have my copies falling apart. That's how hard I read them, and I recommend that you purchase those books and read them to provide for you some excellent source of education and understanding where autism is coming from. I hear a lot of parents say, well, we have no money, we barely meet ends, and having a child with disability also puts a lot of strain on our budget, so we really don't have money to go on any special diet. And if you think that eating fresh produce will cost you more money than buying something off the shelf, then you need to think again, because basically here I have a little representation of the traditional American diet and a specific carbohydrate diet. And you can see that a box of granola, loaf of bread, jar of jam, and so on, and it's $43.90. And if you read into that, so it's probably 2-3 days worth of food for one person. And here is the grocery list for the introduction period in the diet, and it has all these foods here, and it is enough for a week for one person. So the foods that you can make out of this are so much more nutritious and delicious and healthy for your child, and it costs the same amount of money. There's other things that you can think about when you think about saving money on the diet. It's being creative and thinking outside the grocery store. There's farmers markets, ethnic markets, stores and local butchers and farmers. I personally have a good relationship with a farmer whom I buy my meats from, and you can just look into the less popular cuts that to buy and learn how to cook from that, to cook organ meats, which is a great source of nutrition. And really, if you think, a lot of people eat chicken breast because they think it's very healthy for them, but the rest of the chicken is healthy as the chicken breast too, and the whole chicken costs less than the chicken breast. So you need to learn to eat in season. I just went to the store the other day, and there's organic strawberries at $12 per small box, and it equals of 5 pounds of the organic apples or 10 pounds of the conventional apples. You also can prioritize and see what's more important for you, and if your child's health is more important than anything else, then maybe you should spend some more money on buying the produce that can heal your child and help your child to overcome the condition. You need to learn to compromise. It is important to buy organic because of the pesticides, and there's a huge study done on the pesticides and how they affect the brain of our children. But in any case, you can just buy organic for your child and buy non-organic for the rest of your family. It will, yes, it will be a little bit of hassle to make sure it's all separated, but once you get a hang of it, it goes really smoothly. And I tried that as well in my family. Another concern that parents usually say that they have no time to implement the diet. And this is something that always makes me scoff, because is there a time for us to deal with tantrums, especially in the middle of the road when you're going somewhere? Is there a time to wake up 3 or 4 times per night to deal with night terrors? Some parents sleep with their children to prevent that. Is there a time to change diapers at the age of 6 and then wipe their bum and then wash the house from the feces that were smeared on the walls? Is there a time to understand why your child is screaming so loud and wouldn't move? Is there time to explain to your relatives why your child wouldn't listen or why he wouldn't come out and kiss them and hug them? Is there a time to explain to your strangers what your child is doing and that he's steaming and he's not a spoiled brat? Is there time to take your child to the therapy or be at home when the therapist is coming? It's only overwhelming when you think that diet goes on top of it. But if you know that the diet goes instead of it, that becomes not so hard. That becomes an easy thing to implement. And yes, it will become a little bit complex during the first weeks, because you just have to adjust your lifestyle. You will have to adjust your way of doing things. And there's certain techniques that our program actually offers, or certain things that you can do to look into your lifestyle and do a little bit of planning ahead. And to minimize your time with diet, you will need to do the strategy, create the strategy, and look into how you're going to do that and what you're going to do. Have your grocery list ready, have your menus ready. Do your homework before you jump into the diet. Don't just wake up one morning and say, well, I'm going to do the diet today. No, you have to develop a plan and then follow that plan, and that will help you to manage. You need to think ahead and make sure that you have it all thought through. Planning ahead helps, and so is cooking ahead helps, and your freezer will become your best friend. And what I do, I just book some time for cooking, and I cook, and then I portion it and I freeze it, and I have it ready in a few minutes for my son. And I book the time for fun, and when I have fun, I don't think about cooking, or I don't do cooking at that time. And the other big key to success is have your entire family on this diet. And I know it may raise a lot of eyebrows, and a lot of parents might say, well, no way I'm putting my entire family to this diet. But actually, if you think about it, once you learn a little bit more about the diet and in details, you will see that it's very healthy for your entire family, and it's very good for men as well. They will like it because basically it's just meat and veggies, and it will minimize your cooking time because you don't have to cook different pots for everybody. You'll just cook it once for everyone. And some parents also still concerned about how come that if their child doesn't have a food allergies, should they actually start on the diet? And this is where I want to address that and say that allergies are so not explored to the end topic that we don't really even know how they shown up. A lot of people think that the allergy means that you have to have red face and red ears and have to start coughing, or you have to have diarrhea, things like that. But a lot of allergies nowadays are being displayed in a very unusual manner, in a way that we would never even think that it's an allergy. And as I already said, the fact that your child is on the spectrum already indicates that they have an allergy, or they have toxins in their body that are being not only delivered from the outside, but actually being produced inside of their bodies because of their digestive issues. And as I already said, that some parents don't even recognize what the gut dysfunction really is, what the signs of gut dysfunction. They say, well, my child doesn't have any, but then you start asking them questions, and it comes up that actually their child does. For example, the constipation. Some people say, well, it have to be 3-4 days before you consider that constipation. No, every second day means constipation. The child have to go every day. Diarrhea, it doesn't have to be 5 times a day. If your child have diarrhea once in a while, that's already diarrhea. If your child have eczema, asthma, if your child selectively eat and limited their diet themselves, if they have dry skin, bloated belly beyond 2 years old, if they have frequent flatulence, if they have weak muscle tone with hyperactivity or without hyperactivity, they have a pale complexion and with dark circles under their eyes, or they take in odd poses leaning on their tummy, or they have night terrors during the night, wake up for 20-30 minutes, cry, and then go back to sleep. If they have large bowels, if they have smelly bowel movements, all of that are the signs of the food allergy. And sometimes parents don't really even think about it. They don't think that that's the sign of the food allergy. And another concern that a lot of parents express is that our doctor does not support the diet treatment. Our doctor thinks it's a nonsense. Again, as we already talked a little bit about that at the beginning, that historically many doctors dismissed the idea of the diet treatment being actually a viable idea, and they believed that there was not enough supporting scientific evidence. However, after 2008, it turned out that the American Academy of Pediatrics recognized and published the article, so they now admit that it might have been wrong. And there's thousands of parents throughout the world that implemented the diet with their children, and it helped them tremendously, and they observed dramatic improvements. And what you can do is educate yourself on those dietary options through reading and for doing some research. And Project Open Window is a good place to start, as well as those books that I recommended earlier. The information that is presented on that slide is taken from the Autism Research Institute website, so you can go and on that link and read it yourself about the American Academy of Pediatrics accepting the fact that actually there is a gut-brain connection, and the diet should be considered as one of the treatments for autism. A lot of parents are frozen by those questions. They think it will be too hard to implement the diet. They say, well, my child is fussy eater. He won't eat anything but pizza or crackers or whatever that could be. What to cook, how to cook. They think that school will never support them in the diet, and the child, once the child goes to school, he will cheat and eat whatever. They are afraid that they will never be able to maintain the lifestyle that they have. They never will be able to go out. They are concerned about visiting other people or people visiting them, and there's a poor child syndrome that I explain a little bit forward. And there's that question, that last question, what if I will make mistakes and it will be my fault? That's something that parents don't really ask out loud, but they think about it, and that freezes them because nobody wants to be at fault for something. And here I want to address those concerns. So my child is a fussy eater and he won't eat anything but pizza. Well, trust me, a lot of kids will adjust to the diet much faster than you will. And I was surprised how quick my son got onto this diet. It was a matter of a few days. In the same time, if you have an older child, it might be a bit more complicated. But, you know, you are an adult and you make the choices. You make the decisions for them until they grow up and become adult themselves. So let them be on the diet a little bit. Keep them on that diet. Let them, kind of test it and be maybe hungry for a couple of days. But at the end, they will eat this and they will notice that they enjoy it. And I have parents doing this, and they replying back to me saying, wow, we couldn't even believe that my son would eat or my daughter would eat that food. You have to remember that kids can't starve themselves. That's just not in their mechanism. It comes so much later. And they quickly realize what makes them feel better, and those foods making them feel better, and that's what they want. They want that as well. They won't get out. And in this case, I also want to tell you that you have to think for your child, not for yourself. A lot of time when parents are bringing this up, they think for themselves. They go like, oh my God, that means I have to cook. That means that breakfast is not just cereal and milk anymore. That means that I have to actually kind of sharpen my knives. And that's what preventing you from going ahead, and that's what where this concern is coming from. And you have to make sure that this is not what you're thinking, that you actually prepared to go ahead and start cooking for your child in order to bring them out of the autistic nightmare. So again, here, you need to develop a strategy before you start, and we help parents who buy our program to develop that strategy that is specific for them, that will help them to succeed and stay on the diet and achieve a success. Again, here, the key to that success is the entire family goes on the diet that eliminates any unwanted foods in your house, and your child cannot cheat, so he can't really look and find some stash of the chips anywhere. And it also helps in the terms that he doesn't see it. He doesn't see anybody else eating that unwanted food, and so it does not create any temptation. The question what to cook and how to cook and school issues, this is easily addressed. Nowadays, there's a lot of resources available on the recipes for the non-grain foods, non-grain dishes, and it's also called paleo. And there's tons of websites with the paleo recipes that you can use, but you have to watch out because paleo is not specific carbohydrate. It is not adjusted for autism, and so some discretion advised in reading those recipes, making sure that they actually exclude the products that are not allowed on the autistic children's list. We have some recipes posted on our Facebook page, and we welcome you to go and take a look and get familiar with that. Also in our program, we teach parents on how to cook some core recipes. Once you learn how to cook the core recipes, then with your imagination, you can go forward and add to that and make it delicious and interesting and various every time. And you don't really need any special training once you master those core dishes. Also, when you cook for your child, think how good this food is. Think about how you add value to your child's health and how your child becomes healthy. And when you think about that when you're cooking, you add in a little mommy magic, that's what I call it. But really, the food comes out very delicious, and usually you will get a lot of compliment on that. It's just because you put a piece of your heart into this food. With school, I would say you need to prepare lunches for your child, and he has to or she has to eat out of the box that they bring them with themselves rather than relying on the cafeteria. I did talk to my son's school, and I said he has an allergy, a food allergy, and he can't have anything but the food that he brings with him. And the school was very receptive to that because nowadays a lot of kids have allergies, and some allergies are very severe. So they do obey that very strictly, and they cooperate. And I know for sure that when my son goes to school, he only eats what he brings with him. And the same as with respite, you just leave the food for your child or send your child with the food that he's supposed to eat, and that removes that issue. Going out is very easy. I don't know why it's being even discussed, because some parents are being afraid to go out. They think that their child is unable to go with them. But I mean, if you have an autistic child, you most likely not going out that often with him or her, because they just misbehave in a restaurant. They get bored and they do stuff that you don't want other people to see. Now, in the diet, their behavior will improve dramatically, and really, I'm talking about rapid recovery. You will see it's basically in a few days the rapid improvement. So once you go into the restaurant, they are more tolerant to the situation. They can sit, they can actually enjoy their food, and you just have to order from the allowed foods list, like steak and veggies, chicken and veggies, salmon and veggies, things like that. Just make sure that it's also gluten and dairy free, and you can ask your waiter to make sure of that. And majority of the restaurants are now accommodating those requests with no problem. The poor child syndrome is when you go out and they have a birthday cake and they serve pop, and they ask if your child can eat that, and you say no, and they go like, oh, poor child. And I'm just always curious about that, because it's not your child that's poor. It's all these poor children who actually eat that. Your child is building their immunity system. Your child is healing. They're going to be much healthier for the rest of their life because they are on this diet, and because they can't and shouldn't and needn't to eat the cake and drink the pop. So it's not your child who's poor. And once you change that attitude and change that perspective, it helps a lot. And in terms of the mistakes, I found this great quote here, and I would say there's no mistakes. Whatever we experience that we go through and we bring upon ourselves is necessary for us to learn whatever we need to learn. And even if you won't succeed on this diet, there would be some things that you will learn from it. But I would say that the only reason why you wouldn't succeed on the diet is because of the persistence, lack of persistence in not following the diet guidelines. The diet guidelines are very strictly have to be followed. Otherwise, if you're wishy-washy about that and you don't really implement it to the level that you need to, then yes, of course, you won't succeed, you won't see the results that you were hoping for, and that will discourage you from going ahead and continuing on that diet. Just get the I can do it attitude and get down with business. And once you will see how your child is progressing, it will give you a lot of energy and motivation to keep going. The other thing that I would suggest in this case to get the support, because it's very good to have somebody to talk to about this and share opinions and share your experiences. And that's what we offer in our program as well. We offer a 24/7 support for parents who go on that diet with their children. We have a special group, a forum, where they can log in and share their experiences and get answers from other parents and from myself personally. So the benefits of the diet based on our success story, that's pretty much what we saw with my son, what happened. So his gut dysfunction issues basically subsided within the first week, and they normalized within 6 months. And he had issues with bowel movements, with the selective eating, with pains in his stomach. He had eczema, he has allergies, and all of that basically was gone within 6 months. His alertness and improved so much. I just can't even say. It was like he woke up in a couple of days, and his eye contact increased, and you become in constant good mood and smiles all the time. And I was like, wow, I never even seen him so happy. He was nonverbal, so he started using language more and more, and descriptive language and reasoning language. He started to sleep so much better. Gradually disappeared all the potty issues that we still had remained, and he became interested in communicating with other individuals and other kids, and start using language during his communication. He's rapidly mastered the play skills. Again, as I said, disappeared eczema and seasonal allergies. Tantrums disappeared. I didn't even notice how that happened. I just realized that we were not having tantrums anymore. It's gone. Disappearance of the transitional issues and higher tolerance to unexpected situation. That was something that really, really pleased me, because something comes up at you that is so unexpected, and he's thrown a tantrum there right away because it's not what he expected. And now he just goes like, Mommy, what happens? And I explain to him, and he goes like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah. So increased comprehension and curiosity about unknowns. He asks questions, why, and what's it made of, and why does it work that way. Increased affection towards family members. So he seeks for hugs and kisses. He wants to do that. He wants to be held, and he holds my hand when we go outside, and it's great. He started to gain weight with the curbed appetite, so he doesn't eat everything and anything anymore, but he's gaining weight and he looks great. And increased obedience in the family rules and less arguing. That's something I was really happy with as well, because he listens to me and he listens to everybody else in the family, and he's not arguing sometimes. He just goes like, okay, that's the rule, I'm going to follow that. And so all of those are showing that the diet is really a number one to go ahead with, and something that you can try yourself. You don't really need any specialists to be there for you to help you to do that. You can just do it, and it's your decision. It's your child, and try it and see. But if you really want to achieve a success, we offer a 5-week webinar program that will help you to start and maintain and succeed on that diet. And you can read about specific carbohydrate diet. The information is available on the web, but just remember that this specific carbohydrate diet was developed actually for people with Crohn's disease and not for autistic children, so have to be modified to actually accommodate for autism. And this program is our shortcut to success that will help you to save the time and money. And this is something that you can actually keep forever. And this is something that will show you the way of doing it in the most effective manner. So that program consists of the 1-hour webinar a week, and we will address the topics on how to develop a strategy for the diet implementation and get your child ready for this diet and develop the best strategy and reward system for your child, so you will be able to address his fussy eating tantrums and will be able to stay on track, and will throw you off less and less with any kind of disobedience from your child's perspective. We will review the diet structure, and we will break it down for you and make it easy. We will provide detailed list of the allowed products with tips and insights and what to buy, what not to buy, so you don't waste your money on that. And we'll provide you with shopping techniques and label readings and step-by-step instructions on how to do, what to do on every diet phase, and what to expect, and the tips and insights and key points and techniques to keep on track, and what to watch out for, maintain and succeed with the diet. And also there will be bonus information on the natural healing, biomedical supplementation, oxygen therapy, and other autism tips, as well as we will provide the sample menus, grocery list, recipes. We also will provide a video training on the core diet recipes and cooking tips, as well as I already said, there will be a forum open for you 24/7 where you can ask any questions and you know, just share your story and see how other people are doing on this program. And to thank you for attending our webinar today, I will be giving a 50% discount on the cost of this program. The regular price is $197, and you will receive a 50% discount. And the 100% satisfaction guaranteed. You're really not losing anything. If you don't like the information, you will get all your money back before the third webinar, and a 50% refund whenever within the next year. So if for some reason you decide that this information didn't help your child at all, then you can receive all your 50% of your money back. And again, I thank you so much for attending our webinar. And if you go to our website, it's www.theprojectopenwindow.com, and you go to the services tab and to the training, then you will see the page where you can purchase our webinar series. And once you click on the button there, you can input that code webinar, and it will give you a 50% discount rate on our webinar program. And I really hope that you found this information interesting and useful, and you now are addressed all your questions, and you really want to go ahead and implement the diet with your child and help your child to get over the autism. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and you can ask them now. We have a few more minutes. Or you can leave them at our Facebook page. Or once you, if you decide to actually join our program, then you can ask your questions on our forum. Thank you so much.